Hey, gifted crafters, welcome back for another Saturday Crafternoon. So happy to see you guys there, and I see you're all chatting away on the chats. I think you're enjoying the trivia. A little bit easier today, I hope, and I saw a lot of people got some answers correctly, so I was really happy to see that. So welcome, guys. Today I'm a little bit under the weather, so my voice may be going in and out a little bit, and I may be drinking some more water because just a little bit sicky. I think my son brought something home, so we caught a little bug, and now my mom's got it. So with my dad being in the hospital, it's been really chaotic, and it's starting to really take a toll on us. So we're trying to, keep ourselves healthy so we can go and see him every day and bring care to him. For those of you who reached out, thank you so much. He's doing a little better, still in the hospital, but, we're just, chugging along, and hopefully he'll be out soon. Alrighty, so let's just say hello to a quick some friends of mine out here. Let's see, I have Amy Bowles, I have Barrico Sewing and Crafts, I have Donna Phillips, Gail Moore, hey guys, I've got Judy Bauer, Marian Allison, 1 Minute Tips, Robin's Quilt Basket, and Sassy. Thank you guys for joining so much. I really, really appreciate it. So if you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Nancy with GiftsHQ, and I hold these weekly live sessions to talk about all things crafting. We touch things like sewing, embroidery, decoupage, quilting, and just so much more. So if those are the things that you're kind of into, you're definitely in the right place. So stick around, pop into the chat among some friends, and we're going to share some tips, tricks, and ideas with you guys. And I'm excited to bring a couple of things to you. Now, since I've been really busy going back and forth to the hospital, I've been trying to really focus on really small projects that I can do, some quick and easy things, as my time has kind of really been limited lately. So what I'm going to do, and excuse me, let me just grab another sip of water here. Sorry about that. What I'm going to show you today is something that, I was able to do in between running around doing house stuff, school stuff for the kids, hospital stuff, all kinds of things. So I'm going to show you some stuff that I did. Now, what I want to show you is something that kind of relates to something that we talked about last week. So if you didn't tune in to last week, we did cover little bag that you can make using jute. And I got the jute from the Dollar Tree, and we talked a little bit about this. And if you guys haven't checked it out, go ahead and check that one out. That was live number 39. Today is live number 40, if you can believe that. So live number 39, we talked about the jute bag, and I did see there was a couple folks that went out there and they were able to do the project, and they put some pictures out on our Facebook group, which I was so happy to see. So Robin, thank you so much. It was really neat. And, jute is something that you can pick up at the Dollar Tree or any local craft store. You really don't need a lot of it. And I was able to just kind of make this cute little bag. And when I made the bag, I talked about doing a decorative stitch and doing all kinds of things that you can do for handles. But I also had a bag that's still a work in progress. As you can see, it's still clipped. I haven't been able to do the decorative stitch on it or to create the handles. And if you recall, I was kind of debating what I could use for the handle. I know that I did use this nautical rope that is also from the Dollar Tree, and I did put that together. It did look cute, but I did struggle because of the thickness of it. So I was wondering, what else can I use besides this? And we talked about fabric and other things that you can do for the handle itself. But one thing that I thought about was, the macrame cord. A lot of people do a lot of arts with macrame. So I went ahead and I purchased that. And when I did, I haven't had a chance to do the handle on last week's project yet. But when I did get it, I thought about what else can you make with this. And so I did a little more digging, and I can just show you a couple things that I will share with you today that I was able to make. Now let me just show you this big monster that I did buy. Now, it's huge. It's a huge, huge big pack that you can get. I got this off of Amazon, so you can definitely get this. And let me just take the plastic off so it avoids making this noise. And you can see the macrame cord that you can purchase. Now, you probably don't need this much of it. I did probably go a little bit overboard, but there's so many things when I really thought about it that you can make. We can make baskets, we can make placemats, we can make coasters, you can make bookmarks. I mean, there's just so many things that you can make with this. And I'm going to show you what I was able to make as I was kind of exploring and putting things together. Now, there's other things that you can get besides, other colors that you can get besides this, the plain color, right? Let me just show you a few, and these are some smaller ones that I've gotten. So we have this pink, and actually, let me just open it. Excuse the noise of the plastic here. Let me see if I can get this thing open. So I haven't used it yet, and actually there's another plastic piece because since this is macrame cord, this one actually came with a couple of beads and accessories to make the macrame, so you can see on here. Kind of cute. Don't think I'll be using it, but we'll see. Can probably find some use for it, I'm sure. But they do have this plastic on top of it. I'm going to go ahead and leave that one on, but I think you can see the color on here. It's kind of a little hot pink color. I thought that was cute. You know, I guess the new pink is the new Barbie pink, right? I think that's what all the prom dresses are being made out of, is this hot pink. So maybe you can make a little Barbie bowl. Who knows? And then I did get another one, and this one is, it's a super bulky size, but it's a very pretty sage green that I was able to pick up. Now, all three of these I did buy from Amazon. So, you know, it's out there, and I'll put links below for you guys later on. But the main thing that I looked at when I was purchasing this was to make sure that it was 5 millimeters. So if you recall, this was the one that I had gotten from the Dollar Tree, and this was you can see the width and the bulkiness of this. Of course, this is nautical rope that I got from the Dollar Tree, but then here's the macrame cord, and you'll see quite a difference in terms of the size, right? You can see this is a lot thinner, something that's more manageable that you can sew on, and this is 100% cotton, and that's what I want to stress is you do find other rope available that is not cotton, and those may be a little bit more difficult to sew on. So I made sure that mine was 100% cotton. Sometimes they kind of spray it with a little bit of polyprone on there, makes it a little more tougher, and it's not as easy to work with, because what we're going to be doing with this is we're going to be, you know, kind of twisting it around and putting together an actual circle to start to make the bowl. So if it's 100% cotton, it just makes it so much easier to work with, and I found it to be better on the machine as well. So when you are looking to purchase this, make sure that it is 5 millimeters. They come in all different sizes. As you can see, this big one here is 5 millimeters by 328 yards. So quite a lot, but it will help me to make the entire set that I'm looking to make. So I'll show you a couple of the ones that I've done so far. This one here, let's see, is only about 104 yards, so quite smaller, but just enough if you're just making a couple of things, you know, this is fine. But if you're into like selling, or if you have a craft booth or something like that, and you're going to be making a lot of these, this was a pretty good deal. This one here, took the plastic off. Let me see. if it has the yardage. Actually, it does not. It does say that it is 5mm cotton cord, but it doesn't tell me the yardage on here. So apologies, I don't have that, but it'll be on the link, so I'll put it below. But these are the different colors, and there's so many other colors that you can get out there. So check out all the different colors, but I'm going to show you a couple of tricks that you can do. So if you want to kind of save yourself some money, or if you don't want to purchase all these different colors of yarns, you can definitely just stick to the basic one, and I'll show you a couple things that you can do to kind of tweak it and make different colors pop. So let me put these over to the side, and let's talk about how we can make some of these. See, I see a couple of comments here. Oh, Donna Phillips says, about 50 years ago, I did lots of macrame projects. I still have my old books and I always enjoy the craft. Awesome, Donna. Those are so much fun. You know, I do have the beads that it did come with the yarn. So it's kind of neat that it came with it. I haven't really gotten too much into it. I mean, I did a couple here and there, but not too much. But definitely a lot of fun. And there's so many things that you can make with this. So I'm going to just show you guys a couple of things that I did, and I thought it was super exciting. So here is one. And this is just a coaster that I put together. And let me just give you very quick close-up of that. So this one is a very simple design. What I did is I went ahead and sewed the coaster together, and then I took it to my embroidery machine and I did a very simple light design. And as you can see here, it's super simple, and it's not anything dense at all. So this is something that you can put together, and it's just a simple coaster. I could have continued to make it on a little bit bigger and make it a placemat, you know, or you can actually make a bowl. Now, let me just show you a second coaster that I did. Now, this one has a robin on it. So for all the robins out there, this one's for you guys. Now, this one I was a little concerned about, and I would probably do it a little bit differently next time. So you can see here, it's a robin, but it is a little bit more of a dense design that I had on here. So there was some struggles in here with the thread. So what I would use, now I did use tearaway stabilizer when I was putting this together. I would probably put some water soluble stabilizer on top to keep the stitches up and not so sunken in. But I had probably some tension issues as well. But you know, this was kind of just my first time doing it, and I wanted to see how would this fall into the embroidery machine when I was putting it together. And as you can see in the back here, you know, I went ahead, I used tearaway, so I took the tearaway off, and it really doesn't leave too much of anything down here. So let's see what we got. Oh, Donna says, Nancy, you need to include a label with leftover or opened macrame cord. I am careful to do that with my yarns because type of fabric is crucial to the success of projects. Very good. Good idea, Donna. Yeah, include a label. Why not, right? Sure, that would be great. I like that idea. Oh, 1 minute Tiff says, my mother never made the owl, but my auntie did. But the Lord, the pots were everywhere. Okay, got some conversations going on there. Donna says it's necessary to raise the foot on the machine to accommodate the thickness of the cord. Yes, it is necessary to do that. The cardinal or redbird are my best friends. Love cardinals. I include them on a lot of her gifts. I really like the cardinals too. I'm a bird lover. As you know, I have a bird called Sunshine, and we recently got a second bird. Yes, we did. And we named him Blueberry. We call him Blue for short. It's a boy. So we've got two now. So it's just amazing. But they're having a lot of fun. They you know, it took some time. We wanted to slowly bring them together. And, you know, they've had a lot of fun. And they're, you know, doing their thing. They're loving it. So they seem to be really happy. I just felt like we had Sunshine now for, what is this, about a year and a half or so, and she is just not interested in letting humans be part of her flock. So if you are if you're familiar with budgies, they can be very finicky. They're either going to accept you to be in your flock or they're not. And she just did not want to associate with humans. So we were doing things like putting videos of other birds, and she would fly to the TV to watch it, or to the tablet, and she was obsessed with being with other birds, but she didn't want to be with humans. So we thought it would be best for her to be happy to go ahead and get a second bird. So we did, and his name is Blueberry, and she seems to be over the moon now. The two of them are just flocking together. They really hit it off. They're doing everything together, flying together and everything. So I'm just happy that, you know, she's happy. That was my main goal, is to make sure that she was happy. So it's a lot of fun. We're a bird family. What can I say? Oh, Robin says she loves the birdie's names. Oh, thanks, Robin. Oh, thank you for the super chat. Oh, thanks. That's my sister, Boricua Sewing and Crafts. And Mello says hi to Titi. Oh, hi, Mello. Miss you too. My sister was recently here in Miami, Florida, and she was helping out with all the chaos going on with my dad and, you know, everything going on. So, you know, we're just moving right along. Judy says we have a blue and gold macaw. Wow, 36 years old, and a Goffin cockatoo. Used to breed cocktails. Oh, wow. Macaws are beautiful. Those are big birds. They're gorgeous. Awesome. Oh my God, that's nice. I love that. All right, let me get back because I don't want to run out of time. So let me show you a couple other things. So these are the coasters that I made. You know, I think these are really cute, easy, super easy to do. Does not take a lot of time at all. And I'm going to show you a little bit of tips of what to do when you're creating these. But let me just show you a couple of the other ones that I did. So I made a little bowl. So you can see here, it's kind of tilted up, and it's not a huge bowl. It's just a small one. I just wanted something to kind of put down and kind of throw like some pins or whatever it is that I want. And you can make this bowl here very easy to do. I didn't put an embroidery design on it, but I may do that later on. Let me just show you what it looks like here. And you can see here, one of the things that we're going to talk about is the thread that you should be using. Like, and as you can tell here, and you can see on both sides, you can't really see the stitches. So it's really, really neat. And I thought, you know, it came out really cute. Now there's different finishes. So like you'll notice on the coasters, I overlapped the end of the cord, and I put it inside and then stitched over it. So you see a nice little edge at the end, right? It kind of folded over. And I did that same thing with the second one. On the bowl, I wanted to try something a little bit different. So I wanted to kind of just end it this way. And I wasn't too crazy about it because, as you can see here, it does have, and let me see if I can get an angle right on the camera. You can see here you have a little bit of the fray sticking out. Now you can get what's called no-fray and just spray that so it won't fray as much. I couldn't find mine anywhere, so I just kind of went with it, and I wanted to see, well, this is what it'll look like if you don't use the no-fray on there. So, you know, it's not too bad either. But it's definitely something, you know, if you're worried about the fraying, you can either tuck it underneath and sew it that way, or you can use the no fray and then just kind of end it this way. But there's other things that you can do as well. And I'm going to show you another one that I did. Let me just move these over here. You can see here, this is a larger bowl, and you can make these as large as you want. It's really up to you. You can even make handles on it if you wanted to. And you can make the handles without even cutting the rope, which is so much fun. So definitely here you'll see the difference where it's a little bit larger, and you can see again here, you cannot see the stitching on here, right? Now, you can use these for so many things. I just like that it's very soft because it's cotton, and you can fold it. If you don't want to use it right now, you can put it away. Like, there's just so many things that you can do with this. You know, if the bottom of the bowl, if you want to kind of sunk it in like this, so it's more of a flat, you can do that as well. Like, it's just endless. The ideas are just endless, you know. So let's talk a little bit about how I made some of this stuff, because I see a couple questions popping up on these. So many uses for the bowl. I see a couple of comments on there. Boricua Sewing and Crafts said you can use the bowl to hold your sewing clips. Exactly, absolutely, love it. How do you form the bowl? How do you pull up the sides after the sewing? Robin says she likes the bowl. I mean, there's so many things you can use these for. Let's talk about how I made them. So the first thing I want to bring up is, first you've got to decide what you're making, right? Are you going to make the coaster? Are you going to make a bowl? You know, are you going to make a placemat, a bookmark? There's so many things you can make, but have the idea of what you're going to make first. Once you know what you're going to make, you want to decide, am I going to embroider on it? You know, so are you going to have this additional designs on here from your embroidery machine? Obviously, if you don't have an embroidery machine, you know, there's other things you can do. Patches and other things that you can put on here. But it is cotton, so remember, you can iron on it. So if you have something that has an adhesive that you want to put on the bottom of the bowls or the side of the bowls, this is a cotton cord, so it can withstand some of the heat on there. So that makes it very flexible in the types of ideas and designs that you can do. But if you do have the embroidery machine, you want to look at the type of design that you're going to select. So first you want to pick, if you are going to make a bowl or a coaster or a placemat, and it's going to have that circular form, then you definitely want to pick a design that is made for a circular type of design, right? So you don't want to pick something that is going to be squarish and then try to fit it into a bowl type, because it is going to look awkward. So you want to pick something that is made for a circular design. So maybe something like, you know, they have the frames that you can pick. They have the circular frames with the flowers and the butterflies and all kinds of things that you can get that are circular. You could do something like that, or you can do a smaller design like this. Now, this is kind of a very light, airy type of design. So these are very simple to make, but I probably would use a water-soluble stabilizer to make sure that the stitches stay up. Now, one thing that I did use on this, and I neglected to mention, is on here, I did use some metallic thread. So that's another idea that you can do. So you see a little bit of a shimmer on there. So I only used it on the stem. The rest of the design had regular thread, but I wanted to kind of switch it up and see what it looked like with the metallic thread. So once you have selected your design and you're ready to begin making the bowl or the coaster or the placemat, you're going to want to go to your sewing machine and look at the stitches that are available. So let's take a look at that, and I'm going to move these over a little bit here. I'm going to bring out my machine here. Now, again, this is my older machine, and let me just disconnect it for now, because I won't be turning it on. Okay, so this is an older machine that I have, but it's just easier for me to kind of show you on a camera because it's a little bit smaller. What you want to look at is you want to look at the stitches on your machine and what stitches you're going to select to be able to sew this on. Now, I recommend that you use a zigzag stitch. That is probably the best stitch that you can use. However, there are other stitches that are wide enough that you may also be able to use, but it really would depend on how you want to do your design. So what I'm trying to get at is as you can tell on the bowls, you cannot see any of the stitching that's going on, because the thread that I use, it's actually the same thread, is the same color as the rope. So if you do not want your zigzag to show throughout your project, use the same color of your top thread, and your bobbin thread needs to be the same color for your project. Now, if you do want your thread color to show, obviously you can pick all kinds of fun colors. There's ones that have multicolors on there. Maybe you want to get a little bit of red in here. But what I would caution is, if you are going to show your thread and you want it to come out on your project, you have to be very careful on how you sew this together, because any mistake that you make will show on the actual project. Because if you think about how you're stitching this, you're stitching round and round. And so while you're stitching round and round, if you get distracted and you're thrown off a little bit, you won't have that perfect circle every single time. So it can be a little bit time consuming. If you slow down your stitch and you do it slowly, you can do it with the colored thread. I just wanted something quick and easy, so I decided to just use the same thread as the cord, because I knew that I wanted to embroider it, and I wanted the embroidery to stand out, not so much the stitches, the zigzag stitches that are going to go around the project. But that's something that you can certainly do. Like, maybe you want to change the color of the thread towards the top of the project. Maybe what you're going to want to do is just use the same color thread on the bottom, and then on the top of the bowl you would change up the color of the thread to make it pop all the way on the top, and use a design that way. So there's so many things that you can do with this. So one of the things when you are doing this project, and I'll give you a little bit of an example. Let me cut this really quick so I can show you. Okay, so to start off the project, you're going to take your cord, and the first thing you're going to do is you'll want to work on a flat surface like this. All right, what you're going to have to do, the very difficult part of this project is the very beginning. Once you have the beginning done, the rest is very, very easy. So what you want to do is just kind of twist it with your fingers, and you're going to make that circle. So you may want to grab it with your hands and just kind of twist it around, and you'll go around maybe 2-3 times, and then maybe put it down on the table, and then just kind of keep going around. And you only want to do that till you have about, I don't know, I'd say about an inch or so. And then let me just get some pins so I can show you. I'm going to pin it in place, and you may want to do this as well before you take it to your sewing machine, because you don't want it to kind of unravel before you can get it there. So here. Let me see if I can show this over to you. Let me get some slack here. Okay. So you can see here how all I did was just twist it around, and I added the 2 pins just to kind of hold it in place. And this is all that you need to get started. So I will now take this over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to select the zigzag stitch. Now let's talk about that zigzag stitch, because there's different things that you're going to want to look out for. Now every machine is a little bit different, and I'm going to show you a couple of things that before I actually did it, I wanted to kind of take a look at it and see what type of width I was going to want to apply to the project. And I'll tell you why. Now, I did initially do it on this fabric. I don't know if you'll be able to see it very well, because it is kind of has a design on there. But you'll notice, let me see if I can put it closer for you. So you'll notice the different zigzag stitches on here. I was basically playing with the width, which is what I would suggest for you guys to do before you actually work on the project itself. Just grab a scrap piece of fabric, and you can see here, I think it shows a little bit better. Here's two different zigzag stitches, and I'll show you. This one here is using a very wide width and a long length. So the zig and the zag are pretty far apart from each other. And the goal is to have the cord in between the zig and the zag. What you're aiming for is you want to make sure that your needle is going to pick the cord from the previous row and the cord from the current row that you are sewing. So think of it as my hands as two different pieces of cords. You're going to try to join these two together, and your zigzag stitch is going across a machine, and you're wanting to pick up your cord from the prior row and the new cord. So you want to put these two together so that they don't separate. So one of the things that I did was when I brought it to my machine, I used the zigzag stitch and I lengthened my stitch. And I can tell you on this specific machine, I'm using a Brother 1850, and I'm using the number 3, which is the zigzag stitch. And on there, what I'm doing is I raise the width to be 3 and the length to be 4. And you can do that very easily on your machine. Most machines have this option. You'll have to look at the machine that you're using and look at the different zigzag stitches that are available. You can see on here, zigzag is a number 3. There are other designs that you can choose from, and some of them are very similar to that zig and zag. So you can certainly use some other design if you'd like. But I thought that the zigzag stitch was very simple. It was something that I wanted to do quick and easy. So that's the stitch that I went ahead and selected. And so all I did was then I came over to the top of my machine and I just increased the width and the length to give it that larger area. Now, you kind of have to play with the macrame rope that you purchased. Now, I bought 5mm, so that's just, I think that that's a great size to be able to sew and play along with it. But once you've gotten your length and width of your stitch and you've got 5mm cord, you should be able to quickly just put it into the machine and start sewing it. Of course, you're going to remove your pins before you do that. So when you are actually sewing this into your machine, one of the questions that I saw earlier is, do you raise and lower your presser foot? Yes, I did. So what I did initially when I first start off on the project, and I just have this very small little circle, I'm going to go ahead, because I'm using the same color thread, I'm going to go ahead and do a zigzag stitch going all the way across and all the way widthwise. So I'm basically just doing an X. And all that is just so I can anchor it down and keep that center piece together. Now, I know that I'm going to be doing an embroidery on it. So all I need to do is just temporarily anchor it down so it stays in place. Because when I do the embroidery, it's going to kind of reinforce all of that to stay together. And the tearaway stabilizer on the back is also going to give it an additional pull to keep everything together on here too. Okay, so I see a couple of things. Donna says, are there good books on how to make the macrame coasters and bowls with instructions and tips on how to sew on machines? I haven't really looked to see if there were any books on this, since I kind of just came up in my head and I just kind of like did a little bit of research. The only research that I was able to do was I kind of just Googled, how to sew on macrame cord. And I did notice there was a couple of YouTube videos on it. Embroidery Library had a good one on there too. And so it was more, I like to kind of watch a couple of things, learn a couple of things, and then I like to kind of try things on my own using my own style. So that's something that you can do as well, and you can kind of just find what works for you. Yeah, my machine is not very heavy. But yeah, I get my little workout in. But again, it's a Brother HC 1850. It's a really old machine. It's not a heavy duty type machine. This is what my first sewing machine, and I still use it today. I mean, I love my Brother SC 1900, but I'm constantly embroidering stuff. So I always have it set to embroider. But I have this machine that's always easy for me to just grab and do right here. So once you do have this ready to go, and you will place this underneath your sewing foot, what you want to do is position it to the edge here, and then go ahead and sew it down the middle. I would raise the presser foot, cut the threads, and then sew it going across. After you've sewn it across, you're going to want to be on this left hand side. And let me just kind of put this here. So you're going to want to be on this end. Now I had my little stick, I don't know where it went, so I'm just going to kind of use something else as a pointer here. So on here, when you're doing your first stitch, go from the bottom up to the top, cut the thread, and then you're going to want to go from the right over to the left, or where if you're doing it the other way around, you go from left to right, but you're always going to want to end up wherever the cord is attached, because after that stitch you're going to start to sew round and round and round. And what you're doing is you are guiding the rope into the sewing machine, and as you're doing that, the zigzag stitch is picking it up and sewing the two together. Now as you move them forward, you will rotate, and you will continue to rotate this all the way around. Of course, don't forget to take off those pins. You don't want your pins in your machine. But you will continue to do this over and over, and as you can see, as I keep going on and on, my project is going to continue to grow and get bigger and bigger. And if soon, before you know it, you'll end up with a coaster size. And then you'll have to decide, you know, if you're going to do a bowl, so you're going to continue to go larger. Now, when you decide that you want to do a bowl, the only thing different that you're going to do is, as you are sewing it, you're going, when you realize you want to do the bowl and you're ready to start giving it that curve, you're going to want to just hold it up a little bit. And as you do that, let me see if I can adjust it here. Let me see if I can just lay it flat for you. There we go. There we go. So as you're doing that and you're sewing it, you're going to want to hold this up a little bit. Like initially when you start off, you want to make sure that it stays flat. So you're going to have one hand holding this down while the other one is feeding the rope, and you'll just continue to rotate it with your hand. When you're doing the bowl, once you get to the point where you want to start to lift it, you're going to lift this up a little bit. You're not going to hold it flat anymore. You're going to just lift it slightly and then continue to sew it and rotate it over and over again. And you'll continue to go round and round and round until you get to, you know, the length that you wanted on your desired, you know, on your desired project there. But that's something that, you know, it's very, very easy to do. At first, I was a little intimidated by it, but, you know, once I got through the first one, you know, really, really easy. Just hold it down with your hand, and you're going to want to use your hand to turn it. So you have one that's holding down the cotton, and you use that as a way to turn. So you just keep turning it with your hand and feeding the rope. The main thing is to make sure that it's flat. once you're ready for the curve, then you start to introduce the curve by just lifting it a little bit, and you just keep sewing. And before you know it, you're going to have a curve and you'll end up with your little bowl. So it's pretty neat how it all comes together, and it's a lot of fun. So I think you'll enjoy it. But there's so many more things that you can do with it, right? So one of the things that I did, and I started to play with it, was I took a piece of fabric. So you're going to want to take some fabric. Really don't need a lot. This is just some scrap fabric that I have, and I have different colors here. It's got some blues and some pinks, right? And I cut these. This is about 2 inches. You can probably get away with 1.5. And then what I did was I kind of just wrapped the fabric around the rope itself. And you continue to just kind of wrap it around. You can do it at an angle. And then as you do it, you see how I pinned this together. So what this would do is just add a little bit of color to your bowl. You don't necessarily have to do it in the very beginning like I did in this little sample. You can also do it on the end. So if you want the edges of your bowl or your placemat or your project to have that little bit of pop of color, you can also add some fabric to it. And you will just wrap the fabric around the rope and then continue to sew it, just like we've been saying with the zigzag stitch or your desired stitch, as long as it grabs both sides of the cord to kind of merge them together. So it's really neat that you can put this together like this, and then you would just continue to sew it along. It will add color to your project. So if you don't have an embroidery machine, you can also add some color to your project here just using fabric. So it's really neat how you can do that. And there's probably some other things that you can do. If you've got some soft vinyl, you can probably wrap it around with that. And it might be a little bit tougher to do with the cord because you are wrapping it, and vinyl is a little more difficult to work with. But if you have that really soft vinyl, you can also do that. You can also use felt. That's another type of fabric that you can use to add to this project. So many ideas, so many different things that you can use to put all of these things together. I had a lot of fun with it. There's just, so many different ways that you can do this. Let me just show you a couple other tips that I had on here. So we've already selected the type of project that we were going to do, whether it be a basket or a coaster. You've selected the design that you were going to embroider on. If you have an embroidery machine, or you can actually add the fabric like we talked about to bring some color into your project. You talked about the stitch that you're going to use. I prefer the zigzag stitch, but you also want to check your machine to see what type of other stitches are there that are similar to a zigzag stitch that may be able to grab the two pieces of cord and merge them together. Play with the width and the length of the stitches. That may be able to allow you to use all kinds of other designs that your machine may have to offer. And then you also want to look at the thread. Now, what you can do is use the same color thread as I did on some of these projects, or you can use a thread that'll stand out. But you do have to make sure that you really are crisp on your stitching because it will show on the project. Now, let's talk about the embroidery. So how did I kind of put this together for my embroidering machine? Well, I did use a regular 5x7 hoop, or you can use the smaller 4-inch hoop. And especially if you're doing just the little coasters, that will definitely work. I did use tearaway stabilizer, and like I recommended, depending on the design that you select, and if it is a little bit dense, I try to stay away with really dense designs, but putting the water soluble stabilizer on top may be a big help as well. And one of the things that I did when I did put it on the stabilizer is I did use the KK2000 to kind of just initially put it on the stabilizer and make sure it didn't move. I did also add some painter's tape to it just to make sure that it stays in place and it wouldn't move around and shift while it was embroidering. But the third thing that I did just take a piece of needle and thread, and I just did like 1 or 2 little stitches, one on each side, just to make sure that it's anchored down and it wasn't going to move anywhere. Because this, the temporary adhesive really doesn't work too well to hold down this type of project. So it does need that extra help, which is why I brought in the painter's tape, and I did just 1 or 2 stitches here, 1 or 2 here, one on each corner, just to anchor it down. It really doesn't matter the type of thread that you use. I just use a regular all-purpose thread, and that worked fine. It really didn't matter because it was just going to be taken off afterwards when I was taking it off of the hoop. So that's what I used for that. In terms of the needles, I used the 7511. That worked fine for me. I didn't have to worry about it. Again, it was only 5 millimeters, so, and it is cotton. So it worked really, really well for that. So that's Sassy. I just saw she asked on the size needle that we use. I used the 7511. You can use an 8012 as well. But just be wary that on the type of macrame cord that you get, just make sure that it is cotton. And I did 5 millimeters and it worked perfectly well. So let me see. I see a lot of things going on in the chats. I'm just not sure if I caught everything. I'm kind of give you guys all the information and show at the same time. Donna says, I think that the mesh type of WSS would be best. Good support for stitches, but it will wash out. Yes, the water soluble stabilizer, it is a great way to anchor things down and hold them in place. Now, if you are using the water soluble stabilizer, just make sure, you know, once you're done with it, you soak it in the water and the stabilizer will disappear, but your design will stay in place. That does work very well on this as well. Donna says, I use a lot of Pellon stabilizers because I can buy bolts when Joanne has a good sale. Yes, look for those sales. Good girl, Donna's right on the money with that one. Those little rolls do not work for me because I do a lot of embroidery. Awesome. That's great. That's great, Donna. Amy says, had to pop out for a phone call concerning my grandmother's estate, so I'll have to come back and watch because there's something I want to do. It would have been easier. She died for. Don't worry, Amy. It'll always be out there and available. And if you have any questions, you can just email me, and I'll help you out. You know, if I have to get on the phone with you, or you know, video call or whatever, I can help you out if you missed out on anything or didn't understand. So don't worry. That goes for everybody. You know, if you ever need help with anyone, just, you know, email me and I'll be sure to help you out. But these are like all the different things. I mean, when I got to this cord, it was funny because it was just so many ideas were popping into my head. I was like, you can really just do so many things with this. You know, coasters, bowls, placemats, even bookmarks, which I didn't get a chance to do, but I have that in my head. That should be really easy. It doesn't necessarily have to be a circle, right? You can do things that are squared off. You can do whatever shape you want with this cord. You just have to be able to anchor the cords together. So if I wanted to just do like a square and maybe just kind of, you know, lump them like this, you can. You just have to make sure that your zig and your zag are going to connect the two ropes together. So just make sure that when you do that, you know, it anchors the two down. So one thing you have to make sure of when you are sewing this, you want to position the rope that you're introducing into the project. You want to position it in between the zig and the zag. So you want to look at your needle, grab that piece of scrap fabric, do a couple of stitches on your fabric and see where your left and right anchors are going to be. Then you want to introduce the rope in the middle to make sure that it's going to be captured in between and that your needle will be hitting both ends of the rope, stitching the two together and anchoring them down. So it's a lot of fun. It does require you to really pay attention to your stitching. You can't be too distracted and looking away, because you will definitely miss it and you'll end up with a little hole in your project. Now, if you do, don't worry about it. That can be fixed, especially if you're using the thread that is not, that is the same color of your cord. You can always go back and restitch whatever areas you need to do so that you don't have that hole. But the other thing that you can do as you are stitching, let's say you want to create some handles, you can kind of not stitch certain areas, kind of like skip them, and then just create this handle on here. Let me just move some of this so you can see this a little bit better. Let me just get this out of the way. Whoops, so sorry. So, one thing that you can do, if you have your bowl and you continue to sew it along, you can kind of leave some slack to kind of create a handle, if you will. And you can see here how I have this open space here. That could be your handle, and you can make it as big or as little as you want. If you just want to make it to be a little subtle thing, you can. All you have to do is just stitch, stop stitching here, leave this open, and then come down here and begin stitching again. But before you do that, I would recommend that you take the project off the machine, fold it over, and then just kind of mark where you want the handles to be. So you would do a little fabric marker and just place a little line that'll just basically show you where you're going to put that handle. That way, when you actually do it, you want to make sure that they are anchored and even on both sides. You don't want to have one handle over here and the other one kind of awkward and not really together. So that's something that you can do, and you may want to do that with the bigger size bowls because you can do those. It'll be a little bit easier to carry. So you may want to do that on here, right? So you can do that as well, or you can even double it up and then put it on here. So you would have like a thicker type of handle. Let me see if I can get this to show. So let's say we have a handle like this that's just a bit thicker. You could do that as well. Of course, this would be together, so it would be something like that, right? So you can play around with it, or you can even add the fabric on the handles only. And so you would have, the handles with the fabric on it. So it's just so many things you can do. You can just play around with this. If you want to stop it and add some beads on there, you can do that too. I mean, it's just so endless. You can go on and on with so many different things you can do. I can just think of so many ideas on these. So I hope you guys have a lot of fun with this. It was just a lot of fun, just thinking of all the things that you can do with this. It's amazing. It's really, really fun. You can just go crazy with this. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this. It's just so many things you can make. I see a couple other ideas coming in. Trivets used for hot pots. Yeah, that's another thing you can do. Although if you're going to do any hot items, you just want to be careful that, the heat doesn't come through because it is cotton. So the heat will go through it. So you'd have to put some type of stabilizer on the back of it that's heat resistant as well. Let's see. Donna says, I was a little iffy about the craft when you started this crafternoon. Now I must do it myself. Those craft suppliers should be compensating you for hooking crafts on the new projects. Thanks, Donna. If you do decide to do this, I'd love to see it. So please post it on our Facebook page. I love to see all the things you guys create and that we talk about, because there's other ideas that are out there, and maybe it's something I haven't thought of, and you guys can go ahead and post it, and it'll be something that, we can all see that there's more things that you can do. So I love sharing ideas and tricks and tips. So please go ahead and do that. I really, really would love to see it. Okay, I see a whole bunch of other chats going on in here. Types of sewing machines. Nice. Nice. I love it. Well, thank you guys all so much for taking the time to spend with me for this craft. I do have to run out. I am going back to the hospital to visit my dad. So I hope you guys enjoy this. And if you do try it out, again, please post it on a Facebook group because I would love to see it. Thank you guys so much for joining. And I hope to be crafting with you soon. Bye, everyone.